Rev up your engines! Now everybody says today, everything's too much. People want too much for these Toyota Tundras. Well, this one was just purchased for about 8 grand. It's got 117,000 miles on it. It's real low mileage for one of these. It's an 01. Let's go through and show you what you would look for if you were thinking about buying one and whether this was a good deal or not. Now, it's a truck and it's 22 years old, okay? People that have trucks, they don't care if the paint's faded. Somebody attempted to polish it, didn't do such a hot job in the front here. You can see it sat out in the rain quite a bit, but you can always touch that stuff up if you want. The main thing is, you want one that runs good and hasn't rotten away. Tundra SR5, kind of a funny name calling it SR5 because originally the SR5s are 5-speed standard transmissions and this has an automatic, so what's in a name anyways? What you worry about with these are the frames. As we look under this baby, check it out. A spotless frame. It's totally spotless. As a matter of fact, it's too spotless. Toyota has replaced quite a few frames free. Now, who knows how long down the line in terms of how many people have owned this thing, because all you get is the last owner. So there's certainly been at least 3 or 4 owners. I'm assuming somebody got a free frame on this baby because Toyota's replaced tons of them. And this thing is 22 years old. Yet, look at the frame. I mean, it's almost like in a brand new truck. You can see, God did a good job with the exhaust. Those are replacement parts. They've welded all the way back here to the silencer, back to the muffler. Still the original muffler. You can see in the front, the original catalytic converters too. And you can see, I'm pretty absolutely sure the frame's been replaced because see, here's the original underpin here. And you can see, there's some superficial rust there, right? Well, the frame, it looks brand new. So, he got really lucky. He got one that's had the frame replaced on it. Like I say, always check the frames on these things because you never know. Some of them rotted, but this one's been replaced. It would cost you more money to replace this frame than he paid for the vehicle frame, engine, transmission, everything. So he's really smiling behind me now because he said, I wouldn't have known. Well, he hit the jackpot on this one. I think he should take a trip to Las Vegas, you know? Now, judging from the way the hood and stuff is faded and how it sits, it's been at some kind of minor wrecks because these are never this clean, so they've been replaced. And I'm guessing the bumper too, because it's real shiny. But it's a truck to see if anything's odd. You can always tell if stuff gets bent, wasn't fixed right. Okay, as we look here, it's pretty whistle clean. None of this has been re-welded or anything. The engine is a 4.7 liter. They're excellent engines. Now, do realize, of course, it's the old style. So it's got a rubber timing belt inside. Good idea to change about every 100,000 miles. So you don't have to worry about the thing breaking because they are interference engines. Here is the truth about them. I've seen some of them 300,000-400,000 miles and the timing belts had never been changed and they still ran fine. I personally have never ever seen one of these belts actually break. I'm sure they do somewhere at some point in time, right? But I've never seen one break. Just to be on the safe side, you better put a timing belt on it if you're buying it used and you got no records. Because when you look around, sometimes you'll see a sticker, it'll say timing belt was changed at such and such a mileage, or if they had any kind of receipts. But this thing, pretty bare, it doesn't tell you. There's nothing to say whether people have taken it apart or not. So before we analyze it all, let's kind of look inside. Yeah, the seat's worn. Hey, it's a 22-year-old pickup truck. It does have kind of a sticky key here. Here we go. Starts right up. Reasonable amount of space in the back. Back seats are in much better shape, other than a cigarette burn over there. Someone was smoking in the back seat. Power outtakes here. Nice big armrest. The old-fashioned Toyota CD and a tape cassette deck. Look at that. We're talking dinosaur ages here. The engine sounds good. Does have a little power steering leak, so we topped this up with fluid for our road test, and we'll check back here. Back's looking pretty good. Hey, the hydraulic lifts still work for holding the bed back. That's kind of amazing. Liner's still in good shape. Conventional rear-wheel drive pickup truck with a V8. The old fancy scan tool. We'll plug it in over here. Maxicom setting itself up. Diagnostics. Now it's old, so we got to manually input it. Setting things up, we'll start her up. Starts right up, it's a Toyota. It's got no code, so we'll look at data. And here we go. Now, as we see here, it's running pretty good. Short-term fuel trim here is just minus 0.04, minus 0.08, that's hardly nothing. The long-term fuel trim, just subtracting a tiny bit there too. Airflow sensor, pretty good, 5.3, 5.4. Even shows you the current on the magnetic clutch. Good information here. The injectors, stable. All the cylinder misfire counts, 0, 0, 0. All 8, count them down, keep going at 0 the whole time. All the oxygen lean to rich on all the banks are the same. They're all 65 milliseconds. It's in pretty good shape, so let's take it for a spin. Now we can hear the power steering pump groaning a little bit because it was low on fluid. It steers perfectly fine. There's probably a leak somewhere. We'll look at that when we get back, but you can see it's only got 118,000 miles on it. And that's nothing for one of these engines. As you saw from my data stream, this thing's running pretty close to perfect. No misfires, has no problems. So here we got our little drag strip. Brakes work fine. Suspension seems fine. And here comes the mailman. He's gonna go slow. We'll kind of creep and give the mailman a little space, because they don't go that fast. There's 2 of them. What's happening here? We got 2 mailmen. Well, we're gonna have to pull over to the side of the road and wait, or we won't be able to go very fast. Listen to that motor. It's just purring along. Does it shake? No, it doesn't shake at all. All right, we should have enough time now. Here we go. There's nobody in the rear view mirror, so we get to a little drag strip here. The 2 mail trucks are relatively far ahead, so here we go. And yes, it does take off. The transmission shifts pretty smooth. The only noise I hear is the wind, because I have the window open. It's getting hot, and you can see this thing's 23 years old. Still pretty quiet for a pickup truck. I don't hear any bearings making any noise, although I can feel the heat's on. Turn that heat off. Step on the gas. Look at that. Seamless transition, then it goes in upshifts. Seamless. Hey, that's what these trucks are about. If you can find one for 8 grand with 118,000 miles, my advice is buy it. We'll catch the mailman. So now we gotta go slow. Now we'll see what it's like when it's going slow, because that's a dead man's curve up there. And you can see now that we put the fluid in, no power steering noise. It's worked its way through. But we're going to check it out when we get back to see what the heck was leaking. Well, it stayed full where I filled it, so the leak is not gigantic. So start looking around. Well, good news is the pump itself, which is relatively expensive, is bone dry. Good thing it's a truck. We don't even have to jack it up in the air. Yeah. We'll look under here. I don't see anything dripping yet. And as we can see, the rack is bone dry. Both sides of the rack are bone dry, so it's got to be the high pressure hose that's leaking. And in this case, from my experience, you don't have to go to Toyota, buy super expensive power steering hose. Many of these discount auto parts stores sell high pressure power steering hoses cheaply enough. They just bolt on and off, and you replace them. Realize these things can put up 1,700 pounds per square inch pressure, so they'll eventually leak from the rubber getting old, and then the hose just starts seeping up. So that shuts the case on this Tundra. A little over 110,000 miles on it. You got it for 8 grand. It's a good truck. And yeah, it looks beat up, the paint and everything. What the heck? That's how you got a good deal. If this thing would have had a primo paint job on it, didn't have power steering leaks, it made noises. It doesn't now, but it will when it leaks out. It would have gone for a ton more than what he paid for it. And since they've had the frame replaced, like I say, that's worth more than what he paid for the whole truck. I'd keep this truck forever. Now, it does only have, a little over 110,000 miles. So odds are the engine's going to go a long time. The transmission's going to go a long time. But if 10, 12 years from now he's still driving it and he puts a ton of miles on it, say the engine goes out, you can get good remanufactured engines for these things. It would definitely be worthwhile, because with that frame, the replacement ones do not rust. This truck could basically last just about forever. Now, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, to me, this is a beautiful truck, because it's going to last a really long time. And there's a big advantage to buying something that has faded paint and chips on the hood. You don't care anymore. You don't worry if somebody puts a ding on the side. You're not going, oh, somebody scratched my car. Oh, it's already pre-faded, just like pre-faded jeans. Look at it that way. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Death Metal Junkie 420 says, will a 20-plus-year-old vehicle be a reliable daily driver? I want to get a car that won't have that much maintenance, and I'm looking at a 2001 Lexus RX 300, 96,000 miles for $8,290, 2003 Lexus GS 300, 112,000 for $1,700, or 98 Lexus ES 300 with 101,000 miles for $6,900. They can be very reliable cars, you know. They're well made, and those are all low mileage for Lexuses, for as old as they are. I mean, you're talking about, what, a 22-year-old one that's got 96,000 miles? One, you got to make sure that that's the real mileage. Get it checked. Get some kind of paperwork, all kinds to see, oh, that's the real mileage when it was inspected. Then every year the mileage went up and didn't all of a sudden go down because they changed the odometer, did some funky thing. But if a mechanic checks it out and it's the real mileage, those still could be really reliable cars for driving around. But like anything that old and that luxurious of a car, have a guy like me check it out before you buy it. Don't buy it naked. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.